on? Really? All right, let's get this started. Wait, Shadow, can you hear like me properly? Because I want to make sure my audio is good. Just us. So, yeah, audio great. All right, so chapter 170. Actually, let's get some background because the way she set up like the stretch from 170 to 175 was a bit different because like the chapters right before this was focusing on Soya, and then on 167 that's actually 167 was when Ray was talking with his teacher Hayashida, and the theme behind what they were talking about is what relates to what's going on here. So in like 167, Ray was having like a big issue because during his matches, because he had like a succession of like 4 or 5 plus matches, and during those matches, Ray, like, it was getting very hard for him to actually like beat these guys, and he said he had 3 weaknesses. Like, one was he's just gonna fight better people. 2, the better he gets, more people is gonna do research. And 3, he labeled his own weakness, which we later found out is Hina specifically, but it's mostly the Kawamotos. And with how Ray's character is, like, he's like his main motivation for Shogi was that he didn't have anything, right? Like, Shogi was pretty much all he had to like latch onto, and it got so bad that he would do almost anything to kind of keep Shogi, like to stay in the Shogi life, because since he's bullied, had no friends, Shogi was pretty much the only way he could guarantee someone to acknowledge him, stuff like that. And then with the Kawamoto family, like the issue there is that they're kind of giving him that same sense of like belonging that Shogi used to give him. And so now that Shogi isn't really like his go-to for finding a place to belong to in the world, he's now kind of looking at it a bit odd. Yeah, now it feels like it's no longer. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's very because like for him, as Hayashida said in 167, that he never said he wanted to be Maijin. You know, like he wasn't doing it for passion. He said in his backstory as well that he didn't truly like shogi, but it was kind of all he had, so he was just going for it. And then now that he found something that is giving him what he used shogi for, because everyone else isn't using shogi just to find a place to belong to. They actually adore the sport. They want to get better. They want to get a title. But Ray isn't like that. So now the big conflict that Ray gotta kind of handle is, what's he gonna do about shogi when it comes to, is he gonna cut the Kawamoto family off and then just focus on, you know, his shogi, or is he gonna like evolve and adapt his thinking into, you know, not making shogi just be a place to belong, but maybe, you know, spark some passion that makes him actually want to win. So I find that pretty interesting. So that leads to like the 170 to 175 stretch, and let's get started with it. Yo, Liz here. How's it good, Liz? But alright, so when 170 starts, they're about to do the puzzle. He bought Hina for Christmas. And you see that they had a pretty important shop that they did right before the puzzle, Kira Zansho. I think that's what they called it. And if I remember correct, it's like a good luck charm shop. So they were just, you know, it's New Year, so people are gonna want their good luck charms for the next year, and they were just selling those, and it was very profitable. So they had a, you know, great success with that. And it's actually cool that they invited Ray to it, because I remember way back when he was commenting for, he was a commentator for the Bashi versus Raido, yeah. And then they saw him at work, and then they were like, oh, you know, like Ray's actually, you know, his adult life, like they actually saw him like really putting in work in like shogi. So they got like a bit iffy on him, keep inviting him to like these, you know, shops, right? Like they were like, oh, we shouldn't bother him and let him do his work. But then they realized that would just make him feel more lonely. So they kept the same energy and keep inviting him to like these things. So that was pretty cool. Like I like the consistency that they were doing. And then what's to see granddad with like he had like a big, like, was that a jar? Like a big jar of just cash. And he eating good. And he's sleeping too, because we all know that like ever since like the dad arc, even before then, his health was like declining bad. So it kind of makes sense why he isn't like doing the puzzle with them, since, you know, he needs his 10 hours of sleep. He's trying to like live forever, or live until mom was married, which is gonna take a while. So I'm happy for that. Then yeah, they just start doing the puzzle, and then they have this whole tradition behind it, where like they kind of related it to shogi too, because back when he was just teaching shogi to the Kawamoto family, Hina and Akari, they were just, oh, like this is good for any ages, you know, it's a beautiful kind of sport because, you know, any age could do it, you know, this and that. But and then for the puzzles as well, like they have like old neighbors like that do the puzzles, and it kind of unites everybody. So they pass it around and they start working on it. So that's pretty much what they do for 170. You know, they're just you know, getting their snacks, just enjoying themselves. And these kind of moments are pretty good too, because we all know that Ray never has good holidays because his biological family all passed away, and then the Kuda family, they, especially after the dad, you know, gave him the shogi piece, and everyone else like just like random gifts. Yeah, like I can tell his Christmas holidays after that were just not good. And then he even said himself it brings up bad memories. So yeah, I'm happy he actually gets like these moments where he can enjoy, you know, just the Christmas spirit, and then just chilling with an actual family that loves and respects him. And then when we move on to 171, they're still going with like, they said it was like an 8-hour time skip. You know, they're pretty much done the puzzle. I mean, they're almost done. They ran out of snacks, and then they sent Hina and Ray outside to go get some more. And then this is pretty much where all the thematic messages come into play because Hina saying that the Kirizancho-san, they used to do, yeah, Ray, bro. Yeah, the Kirizancho-san they used to do, they haven't done it at all ever since the mom and grandma died. So, and then they did it right now. So it's a pretty big deal that like an event you've never done after like your loved ones passed away, you just didn't have the heart to do it anymore. And then now you took like that first step to doing it again, and it was this successful. It kind of shows that they're finally moving forward from like the mom and grandma, because of course it always hurts to lose someone close to you. And even like way back early in the series when Ray saw how like the ceremony they were doing, the one that Hina was crying in, yeah, he was saying that like the whole feeling, like he can tell they haven't like really moved on from it yet. The losses are still heavy, and this could be like a first big step to like them moving on and being like happier and accepting kind of what happened, because they finally found the heart to do the stand again that they haven't done in like ages, and it was this successful. Everyone's happy, everyone's smiling, and then Hina just telling Ray that she imagined the mom and grandma there, and then they were just happy, and yeah, they were just happy selling to customers were happy. And then she said that that's what she thinks happiness is, like that kind of feeling of just spreading smiles everywhere. And of course this leads to like 172, where Hina talks about like her dream of having like helping Akari and Granddad with the Mikazukido stand. So like we all know they work, selling shops, selling sweets, but Hina, she Malik, alright, bro. But yeah, so she said when she graduates, she wants to go help Akari and Granddad with their with their shop. And we honestly see Hina a lot in these shops. Like Hina always she always helps out, and we've seen her like in the beginning she'll kind of like slowly like she messes up a lot, but she got better and better and better. Because I remember, I think it was during the Bashi versus Kiryu, like the early 120s. Hina was, I think they had one of these like sweet balls or something, and then like they increased the price, so they could only use half. And then Hina had like this whole plan of like how they can like still have the same taste but like save money. And then she was using stuff from like Chiho, the stuff Chiho was sending, and then she had all these good mixtures and stuff. Like her plan was actually really good, so you can tell she's really been thinking and really been like putting in work when it comes to like innovating the shop. So having like a concrete goal now, like now we know for sure she wants to graduate and wants to help with the shop. And she says not only that, because they mainly just sell tea, so she just like, okay, I would he can let them eat snacks too, not just tea, and then have them watch like movies, and then like in winter give them something hot, summer give them something cool, just the usual. She wants the shop to kind of provide everything when it comes to people just coming in and like being there. So it's pretty cool that Hina has a goal that has nothing to do with Ray. Like her goal is not to help Ray be like the best like shogi player or something. Like she has even if Ray like wasn't in the picture, she still has a goal she can accomplish by herself. So I always love that for my main kind of female characters, have them have their own goal, working towards it. And so she's telling Ray about how she's been helping out, but helping out and being entrusted to managing a shop isn't the same thing. Because back in, I think, chapter 84, they had like a pretty, like there was a lot of customers, they were selling a lot, but the way they were managing the store wasn't too good. So they actually put in a lot of work, but they made almost nothing. And then Granddad was kind of like disappointed, like we put in all this work, didn't make much. So we already see on screen how like hard it is, and then Hina's like, even though it's hard, I still want to put in work. I still want to make sure I succeed. And then she tells Ray that, don't you think that me like not giving up and me trying to push forward means I'm cut out for it? And I think so. So Hina out here taking her steps forward, and I appreciate that. So then we move on to 173, and then this is pretty big. Like this is a big. There's a lot of turning points when it comes to Ray and Hina's relationship, and this I would say is a really big one. So Ray ends up saying that, Hina ends up saying that like how their relationship isn't, well, not them specifically, but Ray and the Kawamotos, it isn't like balanced. Like Ray does so much for them, and like, actually no, I'm wording this wrong. What Hina's saying that like Ray helps them out so much, and then she's worried that it's getting in the way of his shogi. And of course that's what we've been hinting at like for a while now, through Hayashida, through his matches. He even said his weakness, the third one, was Hina. So she's saying that, she's right. It is kind of like he's not losing matches because of them, but it is getting much harder. And then Ray was super defensive. He's like, nah. Like if I ever blame you guys for losing, just cut me off. Just throw me away. And Hina's like, nah. Like there's no point. Like we won't even reach. Like let's not even reach the point where we have to make that decision of whether or not to cut Ray off. Like how about we talk now? Like we communicate properly. Talk like right now about what you want, what we want. So we can always stay at a level where we're not like we're not getting in the way of each other's lives. And this is pretty good because a lot of people, especially guys, like we can relate to like trying to kind of do everything ourselves because that's just like how the culture is. So when if someone wants something done, another person wants something done, 3 people want something done, you want to kind of just do all 3 and just manage everything regardless of how hard it is. And of course that ends up leading to people like overstressed, breaking down. So I like how Hina is able to catch this, especially last chapter. Like we'll get into that later, but I like how she's able to catch, kind of when Ray's like overstressing himself, and then Ray saying like if he fails, cut him off. She's like, nah, like there's no point cutting you off. Like we just won't make you fail in the first place, and then we can just move forward from there. So and then that talk kind of like really shook Ray because Ray didn't expect her to say this, like because she said that you're pushing yourself so hard all this time, and she doesn't want that all to go to waste. And then Ray has puts a lot of imagery saying how like Ray's just drowning in happiness, with the Kawamotos. He's usually in like a daze in darkness, but through Hina saying these things, he's actually finding some light, finding happiness. And I'm liking where this is going because if Hina didn't say something like this, Ray will keep trying to like do both at a level, like do both at a high level, like help Hina never say no to her, and also prospering at shogi, which is hard to do. Like you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. So I like how Hina is kind of making sure his shogi life isn't being ruined. So now Ray might not have to make a decision, like he has to pick between like the Kawamotos or shogi. Like he could like still be with the Kawamotos while prospering at shogi because they complement each other instead of being like instead of hurting each other, it's complementing. So then we move on to 174, and the Ray just showing heavy appreciation to Hina. He starts crying because tears of joy, happy about what went down. And then she's saying that they can just take turns encouraging each other. And then he mentions the ticket that he said could get him anywhere melted and disappeared from his hands. I remember this was, I think, chapter 114.5. Yeah, like Ray was talking about his backstory, how he was on the bus, no one was near him. Then when the teacher said, "Oh, who was next to Ray?" Ray was like, "Oh, no one was here in the first place." And then even just saying that hurt him a bit because that has a double meaning, since no one was just in his life in general. but he said that as long as he had the shogi match, like the match paper that you give to people to say that you're the opposing opponent, someone will always be in front of him. So he said he treated that as like a golden ticket. As long as he had that shogi match like paper, someone would always be in front of him, always acknowledge him. Like they can't run from him. Has to be face to face. And now in this chapter, he said that same ticket that he's always been talking about completely disappeared from his hands, and then it was replaced with Hina's hands holding him as they like move forward. And he's saying that now he doesn't really care where he goes, as long as Hina's hand, it's like they're both kind of moving forward. He doesn't really mind where they go. Like he's already at a happy place. So from what it's looking like I don't want to say for sure, but it is looking like he's leaning towards like not cutting them off, which I mean we should have expected that. Of course he's not gonna just cut off the Kawamotos, but I like that they're slowly, because like Ray encases himself in a lot of like loneliness, a lot of, because like with how he was raised, that's just how it is. And I like how Hina slowly like opening him up like bit by bit, because a lot of these things is what makes Ray who he is. Yeah, Ray and Hina's relationship, I didn't appreciate it enough the first time, but after my reread, bro, like I really do appreciate their relationship. But yeah, Hina's like really taking like the bits that make Ray so like cold, like removing it little by little, and I just love to see it. Like he's definitely one of my favorite like Ray's having one of my favorite character arcs right now. So I want to see where he goes. And then the chapter comes, they come home. So after that, they come home with Akari and Ray. They finish up the puzzle, write their names, and then that pretty much wrapped up 174. Then we go to 175, and then they see that the previous the people they lend like the puzzle to before, the record was beaten by like 2 hours. So they're like, now that let's beat the record this time. And they're like, oh, we have Ray. Since we have Ray, we can definitely beat the record now. And then now Ray's like, okay, y'all have these expectations for me, I'll live up to them. And then Ray starts mumbling to himself like, like it should be fine, I got the hang of this now. And then Hina's staring at him, knowing something's a bit like wrong. And then she's like, oh, do you have something you have to do instead? Then he mentions that he has a match in 10 days. He has this new move he wants to try that's been weighing on his mind. And she's just like, okay, like that's all you had to say. And then they ended up postponing their little puzzle session, and they ended up making him a lot of food, for him to eat now and save for later to eat while he's studying for the week. And I really like this scene because after last chapter, I thought we were pretty much done with like the whole Ray and Kiriyama, Ray and Hina thing. But now, like this chapter was a much better way to kind of wrap it up, because we're already seeing that like what Hina was seeing last chapter, like in action. Because Ray was definitely planning to not only try to study for those 10 days, but also like do this puzzle with them just because they wanted him to, like he's not the type of person that could say no to like the Kawamotos so since he's not the type of person to say no, he's like, okay, I should be able to handle both of them. But instead of like trying to stress yourself out doing both, you could just, tell them like, hey, I have a game 10 days from now, I'll go study, yada yada. But he's not the type to do that. So I'm happy that Hina was able to catch that. Just all he did was just kind of turn to the side, think to himself, and Hina's like, okay, like he probably has something in his mind. And then because of that, now Ray doesn't have to be in a situation where he didn't study enough. Because the worst case scenario here would be if he did the puzzle and then played the dude he's playing in 10 days and then just barely lose by just barely lose. And then now he's thinking, oh, if I didn't do the puzzle, if I didn't hang up the Kawamotos, I might have won. And then now we're back to like square one of like we have to pick. But because of Hina telling him to go study, they're gonna make him the food that he's gonna eat for the next few days and eat now. Now Ray has all this time to study, and he eats well, his body's healthy. So if he does win, this is now like another event where he where like the Kawamotos are in his life, and he's still winning in shogi. And Ray needs a lot of these, so like he can stop thinking that like they're kind of impeding his shogi progress, because you could do both. Like he might not think so, but you can definitely do both. So I was really happy with Hina kind of noticing that and making him go home with like all that food. And I also like how they made him onigiri, because he said he feel bad if he let the onigiri get cold, so he held it close to himself inside his coat. And like it was a small animal, and he said the onigiri warmed him up. And then if you go back to the Hayashida conversation, Ray was talking about how Hayashida was saying how Ray should never, because he was eating onigiri that day too, that the Kawamotos made. And when Ray was telling Hayashida about, I don't know if I have it in me, if the Kawamotos are impeding my progress, yada yada yada. And Hayashida said, hey, never let go of that onigiri. Like no matter what you decide, just don't let that go. Because Hayashida knew that Ray didn't care too much about being Maijin, since he never said it, but he did want a place of belonging. Like that's what Ray wanted. He didn't really want the Maijin title. So while he's eating the onigiri, Hayashida was like, no matter what, don't let go of that onigiri, since it represents like the Kawamoto's like love and him belonging like with them. I wonder how much of the series we have left. It does feel like we're approaching. Yeah, like I mean, I heard a rumor that she wanted to do like 7 years, and we're on year 3. So like that would mean we have a lot to cover, but it does feel like we're approaching like the later stages. So I'm not sure how long she has planned, but hopefully it's the later stages. I would like it to be the later stages, but whatever she got planned, I'm ready for it. So yeah, with the onigiri, he told him to not let go of it, because the Kawamoto is bringing him what he wanted in life, So shogi, like if he has to give up shogi to keep the Kawamotos, he should do that rather than the opposite. So and then now here's the onigiri in the final page, grabbing it to his heart, and it's keeping him warm. So that kind of shows that he might have made his choice, based on the Hina combo on here. He might have been like, okay, like the Kawamotos are definitely for me, and I shouldn't like throw them away. And especially if he wins his match in the next 10 days, like that should pretty much cement it. And that kind of wrapped up 175. So really good stretch. Like I was a big fan of it. Like the main takeaways is obviously the Hina's dream, because having a clear-cut dream of what your main heroine character wants to do, pretty important. And then of course Ray, the shogi versus the Kawamotos like thing going on with Ray, because I feel like that's gonna be a conflict going on for a while, like because with how like Dobashi, like we all know how Dobashi like studies. Like he just locks himself in his room and just studies like all day. So every time he's with the Kawamotos, that's time he could be spent studying. But I feel like Umino should write it in a way where they're kind of helping him like get better, and it's not just they're kind of helping him get better, and it's not just like you have to pick. And I think that's the direction we're going. So, and then for where I'm seeing the chapters go from here on out, I'll say first off, in 168, Kumakura, one of the best shogi players, he's game 7 with Soya right now. Like people kind of forgot that like there's a I think it's called Gyosho, the Gyosho competition going on as like Ray and Hina's doing this thing. Like it's still going on, and we don't know who wins. So we still have to see that game 7, and I'm not sure if Umino is just gonna do like the same way she did back in the Faijin competition with Kuma and Soya, just kind of brush through it, be like, okay, Soya won, Kuma lost, it's over. because we can get like a serious match between them, like for the last game. And since this is not like the Maijin title, like this is just the Gyosho title, Sawyer could still lose and still keep his like Maijin title. You know, like he can still lose the Gyosho match, and it's not too big a deal for him. But of course, it's a big deal for everyone else. So I'll be surprised if, I mean, I want Kuma to kind of get the title from him, but I'm expecting like within the next 3 chapters, we should be going back to that match and then seeing, you know, what happened. You know, did Kuma win? Did Soya win? See more of that, because Kuma, we still don't have a Kuma arc. So that's the issue Umino gotta fix, because streets need Kuma. And for 170, 175, I'll say that's pretty much all people gotta know. Yeah, with the Kuma thing coming up, you know, how Ray kind of changed. Yeah, with the Ray and Hina dynamic, like, it's so cool, because like Hina, she's always been very aware of like the tiny stuff Ray does. Like, she just kind of knows when to because I remember one time during like the bully arc, Ray was trying to like comfort Hina, but he was like stressing on how to do it, and then she ended up saying something that comforted him instead. So like, Hina's actually really good at this. So with her, you know, bully arc, we saw how she kind of saved him by doing you know, like by not folding when it came to Chiyo. And then Ray was just like, oh, so there's someone out there that wouldn't have folded when it came to my situation, even though that was long in the past. Just seeing, so he saw himself in Chiyo, so seeing Hina save Chiyo and not regret it, because it's one thing to help someone, and it's one thing to help someone knowing that you're gonna be in that exact same spot, because you can help someone like be like someone that's super bullied and stuff like that, but if you know you're gonna end up the exact same way, then you're gonna kind of shy away from doing it. But Hina didn't shy away, and that really like sparked Ray to really psych her and have her saved. And then now that Hina's now looking out for her shogi life as well, like she's looking like a very, very like healthy person to keep in your life, and I'm hoping Ray sees that. So future of the series looking good. You know, I'm a big fan of Ray, Hina, recently. Like, Hina wasn't even my top 5, but now it's looking hard. Yeah, Umino, like, she's been dropping monthly for a while, so hopefully that keeps up, because like this next, like by next summer, I would love if, like, you know, chats were to drop like by next June, like 6 chaps. That'd be great. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up what I gotta say between chaps 170 to chap 175. And yeah, hope you enjoyed my little like first small. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I didn't notice a lot of these when I was just reading monthly. Like, that's why when I reread, I was like, wow, like she's really fitting in like a lot of tiny things I missed. So Umina's really impressed me, man. Like, I underrated her a lot. So I'm glad that I got to see it after my reread. And thank you for coming through, bro. I really do appreciate it. So with that being said, I'm about to bounce soon. Thanks again for everyone that came through. Appreciate the support. And yeah, I'll catch y'all later.